what I want you guys to take away from this is things will get very hard for you in life in every kind of way, and you will be challenged in ways you would never expect. But it's always important to think about what are you supposed to learn from this situation. And a lot of times you might not learn, you might be at your lowest point. And that's the good part about being at your lowest point, because once you hit your bottom, everything goes up. You can only improve from this point. And I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in the moment and not the future. That makes sense. Does anybody have any questions for me? Hey guys, I'm back with another episode of Mental Wealth. This podcast is used to express thoughts, experiences, and lessons. I aim to be as transparent as possible. If you enjoy an episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and tell a friend. Thank you. Hey guys, for this week's episode, I did a workshop on overcoming loss, and here's the workshop. Like this. Hey everybody, I'm Jaimir Goodman. A lot of you guys may not know me. I take majority of my classes online. I'll give you guys a little bit of background information about myself. I'm currently 24 years old, getting a master's degree at Concord. I got my undergrad bachelor's in psychology at Coastal Carolina University. I got to rep my school and stuff, alumni. I'm originally from South Carolina, and I just started a new podcast and about mental health and to help other people. Let's get started. So I'm here today to talk about loss. And I think the best way for me to talk about loss is to talk about one of my biggest losses. And I would say my biggest loss in my life so far has been my father. Growing up, it was my mom raised three kids by herself, and it was really hard. I didn't end up meeting my dad until I was in seventh grade. And then I didn't, by the time I was in 10th grade, he was locked up again. So I've always had to figure out how to maneuver with what we didn't have. And this going through life has just been overcoming losses and what I didn't have. I probably didn't realize not having a father, the way not having a father impacted my life until I got to sixth grade and they had parents day, and I'm sitting there with my grandmother because my mom's at work, and one of my classmates looks over and he's sitting with his dad and he asked me where my dad was. So then from that day on, that's what really hit home with me. When I think about that was my biggest loss. And then this year we won one game. So yeah, that was my first time ever. I From not having a dad, it has always made me extremely competitive. If I play a video game, I have to be first in the line, the fastest kid in class. I've always like pushed myself to be better. And I would always compare myself to everyone and other people instead of comparing myself to myself. So it kind of gave me an empty feeling the longer it went on. But I would say me being in a situation of not having a dad gave me more to work with, if that makes sense. Let me go back to not winning one game. So this past season, let me explain my college career. I started off at Coastal. I've won 2 rings. I won a conference championship ring. I have a winning college record. I have a winning football record, a winning Madden record, any of it. So we win one game this season. And that was definitely a learning experience because it was the first time in my life I had been around other people who had accepted loss, like had accepted like going into the game, not being prepared, expecting to lose, and that was really hard for me to deal with because, remind you guys, I push hard to win in everything I do. Um, Going through this process, week in and week out, you start the season with high hopes and good expectations, and then adversity happens. And adversity will happen in everything and anything you do. And I really find that the way you test who a man is who they are during hard times. Um, it gets really easy to tuck your tail, and it gets really easy to tuck your tail and blame others. And that's where you find accountability and responsibility and issues in those fields. When I look at loss now, I try to look for the opportunity to learn. Going through the season of only winning one game, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to be learning right now? Because I've never been in this situation. And then for me, I went from starting the year before to riding the bench, so it's definitely a humbling experience because I'm like, whoa, I came from a D1 school, like I've started at everything I've done, so it definitely gave me it. It definitely changed my perspective. But I would say it's no different than kind of what I went through at Coastal. My whole time at Coastal, I rode the bench. Um, Going out of high school, you already know how it is when you get recruited to colleges. The coach that recruited me got fired the year after I got there, so I spent my whole time working as hard as I could every day. I would the you guys already know how a football schedule. Well, you guys wouldn't know how a football schedule is, but um fall camp and like classes, and then we would have practice, and then we have mandatory meals and everything. It really hit home. And I would say the I would say the worst part of my journey during this time was when I got to probably my junior year, and couldn't anything go right for me. I had like a zero GPA. Like this is my first time I've ever uh, I was just really beating myself up because once again I had always my identity became winning, and like I've always been the person who felt like they had to prove themselves. And so when I got to college and like I'm working my way up, then we get another coach, and then I keep getting skipped over and stuff like that. It started to hit home with me. And so I think I got to my lowest point. We were at the time we played BYU. We're ranked number 12 in the country, and everything is going good. We have ESPN coming in and out of the buildings, and for whatever reason, I'm empty on the inside. I'm empty in every way. Like it would some days it would be hard for me to get out of bed, like to go to practice. Every day I'm at practice, I'm thinking about quitting, but I've never been a quitter because I watched my mom give up everything she had just to get me to this point. So I definitely just started beating myself up and attacking myself like a lot during this time. And I was never the kind of player that would complain to coaches about the situation. And I think that's what affected this situation here. This past season, I was never the kind of person to complain. I always put my head down and work. And I think that's the most important part when you're going through times of adversity is to put your head down and work. It's easy to blame somebody else. It's easy to blame the coach. It's easy to blame a lot of things. But I felt for me, um, the last thing I would have somebody to do is doubt me is my effort. I could have never be doubted for my effort and how hard I worked. And I would rather just mess up and like I'd rather be an idiot than of an idiot that tried as hard as they could. Like, if that makes sense. Um, when I sit back and think about all the times I've won, and I think this is what I really learned. I never learned anything from winning. I learned a whole lot that my junior year when I didn't play. I learned a whole lot this past season. Um, and I find that when you win, like a lot of like I've been gifted, and a lot of people, you guys are gifted. Look at what you're doing. I didn't even know we had a gaming team. Like it's amazing. So a lot of times when you're gifted, you don't even realize that a lot of people don't have those same talents. So it distorts your vision. And wow, man, I just sit back and just think about like you guys can sit back and think about it. Like majority of the times where you won, it was easy and stuff like that. You didn't really learn anything. You didn't really improve as a player or gamer or anything. Um, all right, guys, let me talk about some wins. I've been beating you guys up and stuff like that. Thought it was pretty good to start off like that. I would say a really good win I had was my senior, probably my sophomore year of college. My senior year of high school, my mom had to go through chemo. And then by the time I became a sophomore in college, she had to go through another round of chemo. And so this was definitely like a really hard experience on me. And I noticed like when my mom, like when she was going through the process, she would like dye her hair like different colors and stuff like that, like to make herself feel better. You know how it is for women. So when I remember when she was in high school, well, when I was in high school, when she was like beating herself up, she had dyed her hair red. And so I dyed my hair red too, it was kind of like we were both going through it together. Um, I'm the youngest college graduate in my family. Um, my dad got released from prison right before I walked the stage. So that was the first thing he really got to see me do, and it was a huge accomplishment. Conference champion and been ranked before, and I just got nominated for the Presidential Excellence Award. So that's my first award outside of anything sports related. So yeah. Um what I want you guys to take away from this is things will get very hard for you in life in every kind of way, and you will be challenged in ways you would never expect. But it's always important to think about what are you supposed to learn from this situation. And a lot of times you might not learn, you might be at your lowest point. And that's the good part about being at your lowest point, because once you hit your bottom, everything goes up. You can only improve from this point. And I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in the moment and not the future. That makes sense. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I know with the subject you're talking about, Jameer, that it can be incredibly personal, as well as you talked about some of the rough season that you had when y'all got the one win. A lot of that can be very personal. Would you mind us opening up, are your DMs open in your Twitter if people have individual comments or concerns they want to mention that aren't specifically they're wanting to share with the whole group?
I'm completely open. I sit around all day making YouTube videos and editing and stuff. I'm completely open. Just tell anybody to shoot me a message if they have anything.
Well, fantastic. We will make sure your information shared. Does anyone else have anything they have questions for him, comments? All right, not hearing any. Jameer, again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I really hope that